I'm Jay Horton. I make movies that make money. This is how. Today, I'm going to share some theories about why Amazon is purging indie films from other filmmakers and give my 2 cents about why I think they're doing it. Several years ago, Amazon opened up the floodgates for independent film distribution when it opened its doors to the public to upload movies directly to them without the middlemaning of a distributor or a third-party aggregator. It was a pretty big deal for indie film. For the first time ever, you could distribute your own film right next to the big Hollywood blockbusters with little to no gatekeeping. But over the past 2 years, Amazon's walked this back some by dropping the payment rates and removing certain titles from their platforms. Purging. Why? Well, there's no real black and white answer to this. I'm going to lay out the 2 that I think are the most responsible for the purges. Number 1, undesirable content. Sure, it's not fair, but I think indie flicks are being subjected to a double standard when it comes to gore and/or nudity. Maybe a little more so on the nudity. I know of several filmmakers that have had their movies removed for this. Also, political content or drug stuff. I've personally had a few issues with cannabis documentaries, and I've heard of at least a few being denied because they did COVID documentaries. Number 2, the retention is low, meaning people just aren't watching the movie for very long. They're clicking on the movie and then clicking right off it in a very short amount of time. If you're uploading yourself, you can get a general gauge of what your retention is by going to your Prime Video Direct dashboard and then dividing a film's overall minutes streamed by the number of unique views. That'll give you the average amount of time all of those unique viewers watched the movie. Now, this isn't exact, but it'll give you an average of how long people are watching. If it's under, say, 5 or 10%, chances are you're going to get purged. Some will say user reviews factor in heavily. I'm not so sure. The numbers that I have seen from myself and other filmmakers and distributors over the last few years, they just don't really support this theory. I've just seen too many examples of movies being purged that had a lot of positive reviews, and other movies with little to no positive reviews remain, and vice versa. As far as I can tell, there is no general statistical correlation between user reviews and a movie being purged or not. But let's see what some other filmmakers have to say. Filmmaker tips from filmmakers. From what I hear, it's relatively arbitrary. Yeah, from our perspective, it seems very arbitrary and random, but I think that it's a myriad of behind-the-curtain algorithmic factors that there's just no way for us to see or quantify. But that doesn't necessarily make it random. Amazon has all kinds of reasons for dumping content. It's basically like an open relationship. Either party can come and go as they please. Other platforms are curated and offer fixed-term agreements. Can't disagree. I have a bunch of films there, and 3 of them got removed, and no way to appeal. But I did notice it wasn't generating enough views per month, so it got removed. The rest of them have been getting steady views. I get about 30,000 views a week, which isn't much, but it seems to keep them there without being removed. You may be onto something, but honestly, 3 films purged is way too limited a data set to draw this conclusion. I've seen way more than 3 projects that stream well over 30,000 views a week and have still been purged. Of course, it's also true that there are probably way more movies being purged that are streaming less than 30,000 than those that are streaming more. So I'm saying it is a factor. I'm just saying it's not the only factor. It's odd. I have a very old SD short doc that is still on Prime. Doesn't get many views, but I think because it deals with Star Trek fans, it hasn't been axed. It predates and was said to inspire the hit classic Trekkies, so maybe it depends on who happens to be dumping films that day. Maybe they just didn't like your subject matter, ? So, I do not know this as a fact, but I believe that the review process is pretty much fully automated. I don't think an actual human is making these decisions, for the most part. Kind of like Facebook. Nobody likes to read fine print. I'd start with their page and keep reading to better understand how the Amazon algorithms determine what content stays and leaves their platform. True, nobody does like to read the fine print, but it's not like Amazon's FAQ section really has anything tangible to say. The information is not there. Reviews and minutes viewed per customer, audience interaction play the biggest part. Minutes watched, maybe, but I don't really think the reviews matter all that much anymore. I don't have real evidence for this, like I said before, it's all anecdotal. I think a few years ago that they weighted the reviews much more heavily, but I just don't think they matter as much anymore. So why is Amazon purging movies? There is no one factor that will explain it all. There's so many behind the scenes factors that we have no control over and don't see. There's just no way to figure it out. From the factors that we can control and that are visible to us, the purging seems inconsistent. Look, there are other platforms and avenues for seeking monetization. So my advice, stop worrying about why and just use it for what you can get out of it while you can, and still pursue other avenues. If you'd like to learn more about the history of Amazon for filmmakers, check out my playlist here. And if you want to help in supporting this channel, consider supporting me on Patreon. But whatever you do, keep making movies.